G'day guys, welcome back to the channel, and today of course we are here to review AFL Fantasy for round 17, and overall not a great week but not a bad week either. Ranked in the end 12,815 after a score of 2,199. Now of course everyone, I think every single person in the AFL Fantasy landscape had Bailey Smith out, of course, a late withdrawal. I think it's the third time this season it has occurred. A lot of people probably would have had him as captain as well, so sorry if you guys were doing something at that point, or we're watching the Geelong Richmond game, or we're not even watching any part of it, any sort of news regarding that game. But he was a laid out, which may have cost people a few double scores, or at least being able to pick a different vice captain. However, I was able to change mine in time and pick Max Holmes, who got 122 in the end, so a pretty good score. Now, on some positives throughout the week, Connor Rosie with the 111, very lovely. Colby McKercher with the 124, what a performance from him. He's been a great pickup for me. 132 to Nick Dacos. Tom Green, thank God he saved his score, scored 50-odd in the last quarter to get to 104 in his first game for my team. Rowan Marshall with the 140, very nice job from him. Rankin with the 100 after 5 goals, and 97 to Chad Warner, pretty good. Peatling with the 90, which I liked as well. Now, there were a few players that I was pretty disappointed by. Jordan Dawson and Brayshaw, sub 100 scores, whereas expecting a lot more from them. Max Gawn only got 89 in the end. Matt Kennedy hasn't been the greatest since I've picked him up, only on 85 with that game. Luke Jackson, probably would have wanted a bit more from him with the 89. But the two players that I'm incredibly pissed off about was Will Ashcroft, who I picked over Zach Merritt a couple of weeks ago as a trade, and Angus Sheldrick with only 49. So we'll get to my trades in a moment, but they are definitely the ones I'm keeping in the gun at the moment. Now, my brother's week, he actually scored less than me, which is really good because I've been able to jump him in the league, which we'll get to in a moment. He scored 2,132. His rank for the round was 22,372, so not that great. He was able to change his captain in time from Bailey Smith. He changed it to Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller. So how lucky was that? He got 145, of course, to 290. Very nice. Now, we had Lockie Ash with the 102. He had Colby McKercher as well. He had Tom Liberatore with the 138, probably his career best game, which was really nice to see for him in his game 250. He also had Brian Myers with the 102, who was really good as well. Now, you may notice here, though, that he did have a player out, Bailey Smith, and didn't have a reserve. So that means he did miss out on some score from a potential rookie. May have been a Rouston or someone if he had him in the midfield. However, did miss out on that. So a couple of lesser lights for him. He did have Jordan Clark, who was watched by Braden Campbell in the Swans game. Only got 46 in the end. Well done from Braden Campbell, by the way. Really good job. Loved his role. Rory Laird only got 76, along with Tom Stewart, who I actually failed to mention last week. Ned Long only got 78 after a pretty disappointing performance. He had Tristan Cherry, I had Rowan Marshall, so Tristan Cherry only got 96. He's been a little bit down on form in more recent times, and Neil Erasmus, not a great performance from him, only got 41. The Dockers midfielder there / forward, didn't do a lot in the game against Sydney, but a lot of players really lowered their colours, in my opinion, in that game against the Swans, so not really great signs there for my brother. But of course, with the trades, you can change up everything. Now, my trades for this week are Sheldrick out for Dawson, which is North Melbourne's Will Dawson. Played a couple of games, and I've got rid of Will Ashcroft, and I've picked up Zach Merritt. So first of all, the Sheldrick move, I've picked up a defensive rookie. Now, the reason for that is I have changed McCarthy, the West Coast mid-season draftee, moved him into the midfield now. So he's basically my 8th midfielder. So I'm banking on a rookie. However, I do trust that he's going to have a better output than Angus Sheldrick. I think that West Coast really want to go through him because he's such a good user of the football. So I'm going to be putting my faith into Tom McCarthy. So that does mean that I have picked up a defensive rookie to then go into my defensive reserves. McCarthy's in the team. Now, Will Ashcroft going out for Zach Merritt. Now, I could have gone a lot higher, of course, because I have a lot of cash there with that trade from Sheldrick. However, the reason why I've gone with Zach Merritt is I think it proved last week that he is a midfielder and needs to be there for the rest of the year for the Bombers if they're going to be able to, potentially get a win, because they've got a lot of injuries right now. They need their big midfielder in the midfield and not playing on the wing or at halfback, whatever the fuck he's been doing. Scored 145 against the Gold Coast Suns. I think he's back to his good form. His price is probably the lowest it's going to be at around 938. So I'm going to be going with that trade at this stage. Will Ashcroft out, getting rid of him. I think that's a decent move right now. Have 362 cash in the kitty right now. So at the moment, I'm looking at probably trading out maybe a Jake Bowie, Tom Stewart, maybe an Isaac Rankin, which may be a bit of a surprise after his score of 100 last week, but he had to get 5 goals to get there. So that's one that I'm really looking at this stage. But I think my team overall is in a pretty good position at the moment. Now, my brother's trades for this week are Madden out for Blackiston and Long out for Zach Merritt. Now, he had that as Matt Rowell, I believe. Oh, sorry, he had it as Noah Anderson originally, but changed it to Zach Merritt when he realized that I made that trade. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea to copy his team. No, he didn't do that. He said that he needed the cash, so that's why he's picked up Zach Merritt. But the Madden trade to Blackiston is purely for cash generation. Ned Long, I think it's probably a good time to get rid of him now. Who knows? He may be able to score really well going into the rest of the year, but I think it is probably the right time to get rid of him and to go to a player like a Zach Merritt. Probably people will be making that trade throughout the week, I would assume. But I do think that's a good move to make Zach Merritt the trade now. I think overall my team's in a pretty good spot at this stage. Hopefully Bailey Smith is back this week against the Giants because I really missed out on his score over the week. But overall I think my team's sitting in a pretty good spot. I'd like to have a forward reserve that's scoring right now. I wish I picked up Archer May from Essendon in the first couple of games. Now he's probably too high a price to pick him up. But overall, pretty happy with my team at this stage. And my brother's trades, just trying to command point, let's be honest. Anyway, finally, let's get to the AFL fantasy ladder. So at the moment, the Cheetah Cubs has jumped into top spot after a very good performance from him, by the way, 2,419. He's been up and around the mark for a lot of this year, jumped back into top spot after losing it last week. Delusional Fools is in second. Len Never Pretends is in third. Welshman in fourth. So the top four is sitting pretty normal right now. Tex Wonkers, love that name, in fifth spot. Knick Knack Paddy Whack. You guys are pretty creative with your names. I'm going to be honest with you. Mine's pretty shit. Sixth place is Knick Knack Paddy Whack. Goonaville. Don't mind the name either there, dude. He is in seventh. Wizards of Bontsville. Not bad. In eighth spot, the X-Men. I think it's a little bit too serious, that name, I'm going to be honest. In ninth. He's a Swans fan though, so I'm going to give him a reprieve. And 10th spot is Kados, so not too bad from him. A lot of people are picking a pretty decent team, it does seem now. I did not beat anyone in the top 10 in terms of scores. I was pretty close to the X-Men, but he did drop down, so nearly got him, but that was basically it. Now, on the other side of it though, with my good score, I was able to jump right up. So I was in 46th spot last week. I'm in 41st now. I jumped in front of my brother by, how much is that? 30 points after that performance. That's it. 30 points I jumped in front of him by. So it's very close in that sort of area right now. You've got between, 39th to 43rd. There is a 41 point difference. So there's a bit of a log jam around that 40th point, guys. I'm still trying to get into the top 30. I think I'm probably a bridge too far from that point, but top 40 wouldn't be too bad. I just want to beat my brother at this point. He is one spot behind me with 30 points behind me as well. So it's going to be tough. He's trying to copy my team as much as possible. So make sure to let him know down below because he reads the comments of these videos. Make sure to let him know how much of a copycat he is because he's trying to keep up with me. But overall, pretty good week in the end. I think that I'm setting up my team pretty nicely for the end of the season though. So I've only got about 7 more rounds of the season to go. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I can start averaging, the 100 point per player. Basically around 2,300 because of 22 players plus the extra 100 for a captain. That's what I kind of want to aim for now, getting into the rest of the year. Hopefully get around that 2,400 mark as we get really towards the bookends of the season. But guys, that's pretty much all we got for the review for AFL Fantasy this week. Make sure to let me know down below how your team is going. If you are in our league, make sure to let me know where you are ranked as well. But that's all from me, so we'll catch you all next time.